Something is changing. You don't remember placing that object there. That street used to curve, didn't it? The world insists it's always been this way. But you've seen the signs, and now you're ready to trace them. Welcome to Transmutation Vortex. If this hit home, you're not alone. Like and subscribe. Signs you have jumped timelines. Part 4. Detection Tools and the Life of a Timeline Traveler. This isn't about guessing anymore, it's about learning to navigate the shift. Tools for detecting timeline shifts. Whether you're a passive experiencer or an active navigator, it's possible to use structured tools and habits to track potential shifts. These tools won't offer conclusive proof, but they sharpen your perception and help you map anomalies over time. Reality journaling. One of the most powerful tools is a dedicated reality journal. It's part diary, part scientific logbook. How to use it. Write a daily record of subtle feelings, things that feel off, people acting differently, memory inconsistencies. Record any unusual events, glitches, or moments of emotional dissonance. Track your dreams, especially if they feel vivid, prophetic, or involve alternate lives. Log major decisions, intense emotions, or intentions. These often precede shifts. Over time, you may begin to see patterns. Anomalies cluster around specific days. Shifts are triggered by certain moods, foods, or states of mind. You recall dreams of one timeline and wake in another. This journal becomes a map of your reality terrain. Anchor objects. Choose 1 to 3 objects in your home or workspace that are highly familiar to you. A ring, a favorite pen, a photograph, a book cover. Every morning, examine them carefully. Look at color, texture, position. Small markings. Then record any changes. Anything subtle that feels different. This is useful because anchor objects should remain stable. If something about them shifts without explanation, subtle discoloration, new scratch, altered pattern, you may have experienced a micro jump. This technique also helps ground you if you're dissociating psychologically. It works on both scientific and metaphysical levels. Timestamp screenshots. Take screenshots of news headlines, social media posts, search engine results, your own digital calendar. Do this at random intervals. Save them in a dated folder. If you shift into a slightly different version of reality, some details in your records may no longer match the current digital ecosystem. People report headlines changing, not corrected, changed. Posts they remember liking, vanishing or never existing. News events reverting to an earlier state. You may not notice immediately, but by comparing your screenshots to the current timeline's digital output, you can catch deviations. Protecting identity through timeline transitions. Jumping timelines, even in minor ways, can create instability in your sense of self. To stay mentally and emotionally grounded, conscious travelers must practice identity stabilization. Establish core memories. Select a handful of memories that feel most vividly and emotionally you. Examples: a defining childhood moment, a moment of personal triumph or deep love. A specific location that always felt sacred or safe. Write them down in intense detail. Return to them often. These memories act as a resonance lock, a metaphysical tether to your foundational frequency. Even if small details shift, the emotional resonance of these memories holds firm, anchoring your consciousness. In psychological terms, these are your identity load-bearing pillars. Keeping them alive maintains continuity across perceived breaks in reality. Develop personal symbols. Choose a symbol, word, image, or pattern that feels uniquely meaningful to you, but is not common in the outer world. Some examples: an invented sigil, a self-drawn icon, a made-up word from a dream, a private phrase you've never shared. If you begin seeing this symbol randomly in public, online, or in dreams, it may be a signpost from other versions of yourself or confirmation you're mid-shift. Some timeline navigators believe these personal symbols are multi-reality markers, like breadcrumbs left by parallel selves, to help you recognize your place in the larger multiverse. Interacting with others, during or after a shift. Once you suspect you've shifted timelines, it can be disorienting to engage with other people, especially if you feel their personalities, relationships, or memories no longer match your expectations. The double record dilemma. Sometimes people remember an event one way, and you remember it another, both with clarity and conviction. Neither side is lying. Both are correct for the version of the timeline they came from. How to handle it? Don't argue. They truly remember it differently. Acknowledge without capitulating. That's fascinating. I remember it another way. Log the discrepancy. These are often the clearest markers of a shift. Ask gentle questions that uncover more discrepancies. Patterns may emerge. This tactic both preserves relationships and reveals reality seams, emotional gaps between you and familiar people. You may notice a partner feels colder or more attentive. A close friend suddenly has different tastes. A colleague no longer relates to you. You feel alienated around family for no clear reason. This may be because you're still carrying emotional continuity from a different version of them, from a different branch of the tree. Solution: slow down. Observe them as if meeting them anew. Let them introduce themselves through their current behaviors. Relearn their energy. In metaphysical terms, you're updating your resonance map. In psychological terms, you're adjusting your narrative schema to a new social configuration. Either way, presence is the bridge. Ethics of timeline manipulation. If jumping timelines becomes something you do consciously, through intention, emotion, belief, or technique, you'll eventually face this question: should I? And more deeply, what responsibilities come with that kind of power? Because if timelines are real and your choices spawn branches, then your movement affects other versions of you, the people around you, and potentially the structure of collective reality. Here are key ethical considerations. Consent across versions. If you shift to a timeline where a relationship exists but didn't in the one before, what responsibility do you have to that version of the person? If you abandon a timeline where people rely on you, is that abandonment? Do your shifts create ghost versions of yourself, stuck in timelines you no longer occupy? We don't know. But advanced timeline theorists recommend traveling with empathy and intention, not escapism or manipulation. The danger of escaping consequences. Jumping timelines as a way to reset may work short-term, but the emotional energy you generate tends to follow you. In other words, you can shift away from the situation, but not the pattern. Unless you resolve the internal frequency, the same kinds of events will reappear in different skins. Metaphysical rule: frequency is fate. Living as a conscious timeline traveler. Some people don't accidentally slip. They train to shift. These individuals tend to follow personal disciplines and codes, blending metaphysics, psychology, and spiritual technique. Here are a few principles they live by. Radical present awareness. If you're constantly trying to find out what timeline you're in, you'll go insane. The key is to root deeply in the now, where all versions overlap. Observe your breath. Notice textures and sounds. Ask, what's alive in this moment? Let mystery be mystery. The present is where all timelines converge. To live there is to stop worrying which one you're in. Curate emotional charge. They don't try to stay happy. They try to stay coherent. Coherence means that your beliefs, thoughts, and feelings align. They move in the same direction. Even negative emotion, when aligned, can be powerful. Disjointedness, saying one thing, believing another, feeling a third, fragments you and causes you to slip unconsciously into unstable timelines. Observe before acting. In a new timeline, wait. Don't act impulsively. Spend time confirming details. Do people still expect what they used to? Is your body the same? Energy, pain, health? Do systems, tech, work, money function as before? This prevents you from acting based on obsolete assumptions. You are reacquainting yourself with the new landscape. Align with curiosity, not control timeline. Travelers avoid trying to lock reality into a fixed configuration. They approach shifting as a dance, not a conquest. When they notice something strange, they respond not with fear, but with fascination. Ah, something shifted. What's new here? This keeps their frequency light, which in turn attracts smoother transitions and more favorable timelines.